Hello, fellow explorers. What's coming for you in the month ahead? At the time of this reading, we're shifting from Capricorn season into Aquarius season. So what can we do to bring forth that energy of Aquarius to revolutionize your life and really step up into the biggest possible expression of your purpose in this life? So let's go ahead and jump on into this monthly tarot pick a card reading and find out. Hello, fellow explorers. Welcome to the Mystic Lemur. My name is Rita, and it is my honor to be your guide through the messages in this reading. What we're looking at today is for the month ahead, as we're shifting from Capricorn season into Aquarius season. What can you expect as lessons and blessings? How can you revolutionize your life? How can you really step forward into what you're being called to jump into and really do so with your best foot forward? There's a timeless element to this reading, so whenever this reading is finding you, do honor the messages that come forth to you, and knowing that the energy overarching right now is through that shifting from stodgy, really grounded, but grounded in a way that feels like heavy and overly armored, overly protected, sort of old energies of Capricorn that has to do with the way things have always been done, the structures, the institutions, shifting completely, like complete 180 from that into Aquarius, which is all about individuality, is all about expression, is all about freedom, is all about being who you are and doing so in a way that is grounded in innovation, in exploration through the mind, doing all of that through the month ahead. So we have 3 piles to look at to get more targeted messages for the people who found this message today. So we have pile number 1, pile number 2, and pile number 3. That is pile number 1, pile number 2, and pile number 3. So allowing your inner being, your inner knowing to step forward, your intuitive voice to rise to the surface, to allow you to receive the messages of this upcoming month, this Aquarius season ahead. And quick note before we move further ahead to those Aquarius sun babies who are having a birthday soon, happy birthday, happy birth season to you. Bring that energy forward to allow ourselves to step into our inner knowing by finding our comfortable seated position. That might be into a chair or onto the floor, anywhere where you can begin to get a sense of rooting down, deep, deep down into the nourishing energy of Mother Earth beneath you. Imagining roots growing deep into the earth through your feet, from your legs, from your sits bones, all the way into the earth, pulling that nourishing, supportive energy up through those roots, shooting it out through the stacked spine, shining it out through your crown, and allowing the energy of the higher being, that light energy of the higher beings, also flowing back down through that crown as both the earth and the stars shoot out through your open heart. Allowing for 3 mindful breaths to help you orient to the pile or piles which may be speaking to you for the month ahead. Bringing it in with a big belly breath in. And exhale. Big belly breath in. And exhale. One more big belly breath in. And exhale to release. Allowing yourself to zero in now on the pile or piles which may be speaking to you. If you feel you need a few more moments to allow your inner being to step forward, do please pause the video here, and we'll go ahead and jump on into group number 1. Group number 1, what is coming for you in the month ahead? This shifting in from Capricorn energy into the revolutionary spirit of Aquarius. How can you revolutionize your life in the month ahead? So first we'll ask, what are the main energies, the main sort of lessons and themes that you might experience in the month ahead? We have the Eight of Chalices. All right, so you are being asked to evaluate where you are in your life emotionally and what may no longer be serving you. So you might be asked to take this long journey. This may be an indication of your feeling in a space of a long dark night of the soul, and allowing those things that are bubbling up. There's probably very unpleasant emotions that are bubbling up in this space of the long dark night, and allow that to be a space that permits you, supports you in releasing those things that aren't serving you anymore, that are hanging around in your subconscious but you don't need them, to allow them to fall away. What can you see as some of the challenges and lessons that you're being asked to integrate in the month ahead? We have the Ace of Wands in reverse. So Ace of Wands, the ace in the minor arcana, is about the spiritual root up in the, before it's even a subconscious thought. And it has to do with the energy of the suit. So this one has to do with fire. The wands are about fire, so about spirit and energy. So it could be an indication of you being challenged or affected by someone with a heavy fire sign energy in their chart. That would be Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. Could be you were one of these people, and so that part of your life is really being challenged. Coming up in reverse, this may be an indication that you need to, again, turn that energy inward and take a new direction in the way that you are expressing your energy. Could also be an indication that that thing that needs to be released has to do with how you have been maybe focusing with, especially with the Leo energy, how your persona has been, how you've been approaching expansion from the energy of Aquarius, or sorry, not Aquarius, going into Aquarius season, also about exploration, but Sagittarius is all about expansion and adventure as well. So maybe you've had some really strict, challenging emotions around what you think you are capable of expanding into, or you've just been really impulsive in a way, again, that Aries energy that has been preventing you from allowing these changes to actually occur. You've just been jumping from thing to thing, that rabbit energy, to try to bypass the deep, dark night that you might be finding yourself in. So despite your best efforts to bypass this challenge, it still found you. So what can you call in the month ahead to help you get through these challenges? We have the Three of Pentacles in reverse. So the Three of Pentacles is a card that is all about creativity and expression, and can also indicate collaboration. Coming up in reverse, I see this as a challenge to be more creative with how you are dealing with your expression of your truth and expressing yourself creatively. So the blue here often speaks to me of speaking your truth. So it could be that you are being challenged to speak your truth of your own situation to yourself. You're not, and maybe you're, again, that like what you're being asked to pull away here has to do with something that you have not been wanting to face the truth of. And so doing so in a way that allows you to be the inner creator of your own internal experience as well as your external experience. Finally, we have first for you some insight into what are some of the personal strengths that you can call upon at this time to help you get through this. We have the Chariot in reverse. All right, so the Chariot is about coming up in the upright position, is about pushing ahead, willpower, powering through. It's also a card that's ruled by Cancer, so taking inspired action, taking the inspired leap to push through the obstacles that may face you. There will likely be many of them, but you can do so. Coming up in reverse, this may be an indication that you are being asked to step back from that, again, as I was saying, with that sort of the Aries energy of impulsively pushing ahead, jumping ahead. There may have been a history of bypassing this spiritual lesson, this emotional growth that you're being asked to step into right now. And so acknowledging that you need to take some time to direct the energy of the Cancer overriding event or energy of this card, direct it inward to nurture and mother yourself, and allow for there to be more of a pause in the way that you're trying to push ahead, because you just, with this long dark night, you just sort of need to get through it, right? So the only way out is through, so don't try to bypass, don't try to jump away, don't try to jump ahead, don't try to push through without letting things integrate. Just allow things to unfold as they will occur, and know that you are supported. So on that note, what can you look to, group number 1, for ways that you can revolutionize your life in this time? You have the 9 of Wands coming up in reverse. So the 9 of Wands, the 9s in the minor arcana, are all about sort of the collective conscious. So what is the energy of your surrounding environment? The 9 of Wands is also a card that speaks of having taken, your hard knocks. You've been through the woods, and you're still up, and you're still ready to keep going, to keep ready to fight. So this is paralleling this Chariot card coming up in reverse, that you do need to take some time to allow yourself to heal and recuperate through this, if this is resonating for you as a long dark night of the soul, or just a period of reflection, a period of needing to reassess and reevaluate. Allow yourself the space to do that. Allow your space to come forward to heal through the things that are affecting, especially through your energy and through your spirit. What are some ways that you can call in additional support through this, bringing about this revolution in your life? We have the Devil in reverse, all right? So releasing restrictions, releasing binds, releasing limiting beliefs, releasing attachments. The Devil in upright comes in as, this is also the card that is ruled by Capricorn. So this, again, the energy of this reading, again, is timeless, but it is around this transition from Capricorn into Aquarius. So releasing whatever came up for you through that Capricornian energy, releasing your reliance on institutions, releasing your reliance on needing the government, or needing a business, or needing some kind of entity that is just this big corporate faceless thing to make your life better, and instead allowing those attachments to release so that you can let go of that and come into making the best out of your own situation. Could be an indication of changing. It's mostly, I'm getting a lot of more emotional energy through here. So changing the way that you're dealing with your emotions, the way that you're attached to what you think you need to be, what you need to feel in order to be correct. Because it's more complex than you've allowed yourself to be. So what can you call in as additional layers of, what can you call in as the skills or the new abilities that you're being asked to train up on, to integrate through this new month ahead, through this revolutionary period for you in your life? We have the Emperor in reverse. Yeah, so I'm getting that as really paralleling, mirroring, both addressing what the truth is for yourself, but through the existing structures that we have in society. They're very much dominated by the masculine. So the Emperor is a card that is all about the divine masculine. Also another card ruled by Aries, so it could be another indication that you've been living with a predominant Aries energy, being very impulsive and being very aggressive even. So letting that go, calling upon your ability to turn that more shadow side of the divine masculine away, and into releasing the bonds of what society has told you need to do to be productive, that you need to do to be agentic in society, and allowing that shift in perspective to come forward as you're letting this healing come through, letting this releasing come through, so that you can invite that revolution, that paradigm shift that you've been asking for. And finally, for our advice going forward, we have the King of Chalices. Yep. Another card that is ruled by Cancer, I would add. So you're definitely being called to look to perhaps something that's come up through that Cancer full moon eclipse, lunar eclipse. Could be that you are being asked to, instead of being this, highly regimented drill sergeant sort of expression of the divine masculine, or having that masculine trait. Again, everyone has masculine and feminine traits, even if we predominantly identify with one or the other. So doing so in a way that brings the loving energy, the more emotional maturity in the way that you are supportive of and providing for other people. So this card kind of reminds me of like Tom Hanks kind of father figure, you know, as someone who will have a heart-to-heart chat with you, and, you know, especially when things are going hard, you just want to have a conversation with Tom Hanks as your dad, and, you know, like, he'll make things better, you know, sort of like, father knows best kind of imagery of that sort of masculine energy. So letting go of being more aggressive, don't try to push things forward, but instead turn that nurturing energy in a way that is supportive of, and structuring the way that you are living your life through being more in touch with your emotions. The background energy supporting you throughout this upcoming month, group number 1, we have 7 of Chalices in reverse. So letting go of anxiety with this sort of like anxiety dream this lady is having here. Also letting go of illusions. So again, with this releasing attachments, releasing existing beliefs, allowing that to fall away and beginning to step up into the higher order expressions of your emotions. So in our energetic bodies, through our chakra system, we have actually 2 chakras that really have a lot to do with the emotions. We have the sacral chakra, which is much more to do with the lower energies, sort of the lust and more of the anger, sadness, fear, but also, you know, the production of creation happens through the sacral chakra, and it's also ruled by water. Then we come up to the heart chakra, which is more of those higher order energies of emotion that we get through love and bliss and, you know, connection with the divine. So releasing that attachment that you've had to that lower chakra, lower energy, more basic energy, and leveling up into a more spiritually realizing of your enlightenment aspect of how you're connecting with your emotions through this letting go period, and this tapping into how you can be that nurturing structure within your life. Because the divine masculine is more about structuring, more about providing rules and regulations, but rules and regulations that are nourishing of you, whereas the divine feminine is much more about receptivity and that motherly energy. All right, so some words of wisdom from the flowers for you, group number 1. We have Bird of Paradise, self-acceptance. You are so much more, right? So if you've been really stuck in this energy of where you've been expecting what you've allowed yourself to be throughout this life so far, there's way more for you to experience. There's way more for you to allow into your life. You just need to allow it, right? You need to get yourself into a space where you can accept it and receive it. And doing so will be requiring you to step away from things that aren't working for you and giving yourself that space to heal, stepping out of the fray for a little while and giving yourself that space. We also have Bluebell, gratitude. Be thankful for what is good now, right? Attitude of gratitude will get you very far. So being aware of what the truth of situation is, and instead of focusing on where you want to be and focusing on not being there yet, notice where you are right now and love into that space right now. You have Stock. Yeah. Slow down. If you got this Aries energy coming in, slow down. Don't be so impulsive. Don't be so impetuous. Be patient. The pace must abate before it is too late. You need to heal. You need to step back. And you're being supported through this time going into this next month, because doing that will allow you to bring about that revolution in your life, bring about that paradigm shift in your life, that Age of Aquarius, stepping into that within your own life. We have words of healing wisdom for you, group number 1. Excuse me, you're still group number 1. We have learn to keep your heart open. Keep your heart open and soft through the trials of life. Yeah, so part of this, if you're going through some kind of dark night of the soul, it could be because you have been too hard and you have been too restricted. And so allowing that softness to come through, even though, you know, tapping into your heart may be quite a new experience for you. It may be very uncomfortable, but finding a space of being comfortable in the discomfort, and if you feel into your heart and you notice what it the sensation of it is. I have in times actually felt like my heart was like a clenched fist, you know, like I'm thinking about someone who I thought betrayed me or I felt had hurt me in some way, and my heart just like closed shut, right? So imagining as if your heart is this fist, and just, it might be too much to go pop it open right away, right? But you can just like you just gently, you know, release that grip, release that grip, release that grip, and eventually at least you'll have this sort of more like softly held hand, right? So instead of like this, you're at least like this, in your space of softness. You're in a space of receptivity. You're in a space of relaxation. So shifting from this hard structuring, you know, I'm gonna go get him, Aries energy in the divine masculine, being more nurturing, being more receptive, being more in line with that mature expression of your emotions. So that's what I have for you, group number 1. I would love to hear what you think about this reading in the comments down below. Let me know how this goes for you. Maybe at the end of the month, you might say, you know, what came about and what were you able to sort of divert away from so that you could produce an outcome that is more in line with what you truly want in your life. If you like this video, you might like to give it a like. And if you really hit your vibe, I'd love to have you join this growing community as this channel continues to evolve by hitting that subscribe button. Thank you so much for allowing me to be the guide for you through these readings, group number 1. And we're going ahead and go on to group number 2. Group number 2. Group number 2, what's coming for you in the month ahead? What can you anticipate as major themes popping up? And more importantly, how can you allow these to come forward to you to let you revolutionize your life? Bring in that new Aquarius energy to bring about that paradigm shift that you've been asking for. First we have, what are some of the major themes that you might be experiencing in the month ahead as we shift from the energy of this past month being more about restriction through Capricorn into the freedom and individuality expression of Aquarius. We have Justice in reverse. All right, so major themes you might be experiencing: internal balance. This card is ruled by Libra, but also coming up an upright. Justice card is all about balance, about harmony, and in some cases about karma. So this could be an indication, a major theme for you in the month ahead is you are releasing karma, or you are in a space where you are letting go of karmic cycles that have been playing out for you for a long time, but need to be healed. You're being called to heal these, especially now. They may have become extremely apparent to you through this past Capricorn season, because we had quite a lot of karmic activity going up with the full moon, lunar eclipse in Cancer, and with the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto. So a lot of that could be evoking deep karmic cycles that you are being called through the next month to revolutionize your life, your path through, by resolving and healing. So what are some additional challenges that you might face in the month ahead? We have the 10 of Wands. All right, so this is a card that is all about completion, the actual physical manifestation of your spirit, of your energy, but also, especially the traditional Rider-Waite deck, is about you're working a bit too hard right now, group number 2. So the imagery of this card is less about that, but we do still see this, you know, elegant lady who's walking around in bare feet, but holding this skull, kind of evocative of like a thespian, or, you know, that scene from Hamlet where he's holding up York's skull and says, "Alas, poor York, I knew him well," and, you know, contemplating the ends of cycles, contemplating the ends of the way things have been, and, you know, she's very sophisticated, so, but she's got her eyes closed. She's not really looking forward so much as looking at maybe internally. So taking note, you may have find yourself working extra hard this month, and that that extra hard work might be something that is either helping you complete these cycles, or an indication if you feel like you're sort of get the image of like running uphill, but it's really muddy, and so you feel like you take a step, but every step you slide back, and it's like you're taking 1 step forward but 2 steps back. If you're feeling that sense of like you can't quite get ahead, or you can't quite get past this huge amount of work that you keep finding yourself in, that might be an indication that you're playing through a karmic cycle that you need to shift away from. We also have some additional unseen energies that you might call upon to help you through these challenges. We have the Hanged Man in reverse. All right, so the Hanged Man is a card that's all about changing perspectives, and it's also ruled by water. Coming up in the reverse, this may be an indication that you need to, again, shift your perspective internally to allow yourself to look past and through these cycles, because this is, if you're cycling through things, you've done this many times in this exact way before. So noticing how you keep coming to the same situation, how you keep coming to the same solution in the same situation, and noticing that that solution isn't working for you. So shifting that perspective internally. I also get the imagery of this, it looks like he's sort of tied in and then he's floating up. So allowing this shift in your perspective to allow your spirit and your consciousness to float up to a higher plane that can help you see past what you have been sort of entrenched in for quite a while. And our bit of advice for what you can call upon as an internal strength or an internal trait that you already have, something that you have within you already to help you get through the month and what's coming forward to you in the month ahead to get the best out of it. We have the Nine of Pentacles. So the Nine of Pentacles, card about sort of the collective conscious. The nines in the minor arcana have to do with the collective conscious, and we have this imagery of this woman who is, she's reached this near completion. She's near the completion of this cycle, specifically in her physical domain with the pentacles. So it could be to finances, or it could be other sorts of like physical things, like how you're treating your body, how your health is going. And she's looking over this parapet here, this balcony, onto this landscape below, looking over past the horizon into the future. So you are supported in noticing all of the physical abundance that you already have in your life, noticing how all of these elements that are really getting close to leveling up. I'm getting the sense of like many of you may be in your Saturn return phase. So that's like coming to the end of childhood and really being asked to integrate the lessons of Capricorn that were asking us to mature and do that maturation to step forward to allow this cycle to complete, because you're very close. You're very close to completing this cycle. We got another indication of a completed cycle here in your spirit, and so your physical domain is also getting close to being completed. So what do we have for you, group number 2, for some additional insight to how you can revolutionize your life in the next month? We have the King of Swords coming up in reverse. So the King of Swords, this is mature expression of the mind, and especially the more linear way of thinking, because that's the divine masculine aspect of that. So scientific, and being really focused on observation, empirical observation in particular. So I mean empirical in the sense of like what is already existing in the manifested reality. Letting that come up in reverse, what you're being supported in revolutionizing through your life is to let go of the what you only observe through your 3D eyes, through your physical eyes. Letting go of that observation of what already exists and turning it inward, turning it to what you are envisioning. How can you be not just the scientist who documents the life that you experience, but the visionary, that Aquarian revolutionary who can lead into the next phase of your life through vision rather than just through observation. And vision in sort of like the third eye sense of how are you a visionary in your own life? What are some additional ways that you can call in the unseen energies or the supports around you to help you bring about this revolution? We have the Eight of Swords in reverse. With Eight of Swords, this is all about mental restrictions and about limiting beliefs. So the imagery here, 8 being the way that the 8s in the minor arcana have to do with how the mind works. So how are your beliefs, how are the thoughts that you have habitually been thinking through these existing cycles that you're being asked to release? How have they been keeping you safe, but also keeping you small, right? So what you're being your attention is being invited to draw to with this card is how you can call in the unseen spiritual realm, the unseen forces, or just your unconscious? How can you tap into the things that you haven't been paying attention to release these limiting beliefs? And limiting beliefs coming up under the 10, possibly to do with how you've been overexerting yourself in particular domains. And what can we provide for you? Group number 2 is some additional insight into what are the skills and new abilities that you're being called to cultivate in the month ahead. We have the 10 of Chalices in reverse. So 10 of Chalices, another card about completion. So completing karmic cycles. This time, it's not just in the physical domain, the energetic domain, not just in the physical domain, but also in the emotional domain. Lots of completions coming up for you. Again, coming up under this, another card ruled by water, the Hanged Man. The cups, the chalices are ruled by water, so to do with your emotions. And again, upright, this has to do with that sort of romantic comedy happy ending, happy family life, completions of emotional fulfillment. Coming up in reverse, this could be an indication that you are being asked to be your own emotional support, right? So coming to realize that you are the source of your own emotional fulfillment. And if you are facing some limiting beliefs on how you can be in an emotionally fulfilling romantic relationship, that might be what you're actually being asked to develop as this skill or this new ability throughout this coming month, is to revolutionize the way that you are dealing with this expectation about how people will treat you emotionally and how you can exist within your emotion. You can be the own provider of your complete emotional support. So yes, calling in other people, but you're not dependent on them. You can, you can be complete, and you can have a high degree of emotional satisfaction and well-being because you already choose to have that. It can be unconditional. You can do so by focusing on finding the good in people, finding the good in yourself, finding the good in the relationships that you meet, so that the more that you find the good, the more that the good comes to you. And the more that you find the good, the more that the good comes to you. This is one of the weird things about how the universe works. And finally, our advice for how you can step forward into the month ahead, group number 2, we have the 7 of Wands. All right, so another card, the 7s have to do with the desires. And in the suit of Wands, to do with the desires of your energy, the desires of your spirit. The imagery here of this card, we have this these 7 wands kind of crowding around this man who seems to be fighting back with them, against them, with this sword, which speaks of the mind. So we have this resistance energy of the mind to the spirit, but he's quite outnumbered. He doesn't seem like he's going to be making it through this battle without, taking on some transformation, right? So allowing that desire of your energy, desire of your spirit to step forward and take more control than the mind. So if your mind is overactive, if your mind is giving you these limiting beliefs, your best advice here is to let that step aside, let that put your sword at ease, as it were, put your mind at ease, and allow spirit and allow your energy to tell you how you need to get through, because your mind knows how you've done things. Your mind only knows really the past. The mind really only knows how to complete repeat of this cycle. So the mind won't tell you how to surpass this, but your spirit will. So tapping into what it's telling you. Background energy supporting you throughout the month ahead. Group number 2, background energy supporting the month ahead. We have the King of Wands in reverse. Yep. So really more indication of the spirit coming up. The King of Wands, like the King of Swords, is that mature, male, masculine energy of the spirit coming up in reverse. The background energy supporting you is being that sort of internal father figure through your energy, and allowing that connection of so this, I'm getting this for some people, you might have some really limiting beliefs about what spirit or what your energy can be like because of some programming that you've experienced through various sorts of religious beliefs. And this is an indication that you can release that because the universe will be exactly as supportive as you expect it to be. So check in with those expectations. If you expect that you will repeat this cycle, then you're going to create that repeat of the cycle. And if you expect and you choose not to repeat it, then you can choose not to repeat it. But the limiting beliefs that might be coming up around spirit, around your how your mind is resistant to the cues of your inner being, the cues of your higher knowing, will be what might be blocking you to get through this. So letting that mental side step back a little bit. It's like part of that sort of shadow side of Aquarius, because it can be a little bit overactive in mentality. So balancing that with your intuitive knowing as well. Some words of wisdom from the flowers for you, group number 2. We have peony, health. Focus on all parts to make the whole. Yeah, so that's what I was just talking about a bit with that overactivity of the mind and overactivity of sort of like the shadow side of Aquarius. So Aquarius is also the home of science and scientism, and science is all about reductionism, right? It's all about taking apart the pieces to see how each individual bit functions, which is very powerful. It's given our species, our civilization, our society huge benefits, but it does have limitations, and its limitations are that it can't see beyond the details. It's really stuck. It's like being lost in the forest for the trees kind of thing. So you also need to be able to see the bigger picture, and the spirit will be what enables you to look at that bigger picture, because as you can pop out to that higher perspective, then you can begin to see, oh, here's how I keep repeating that thing. Here's how I keep doing that same mistake. So why don't I just not do that anymore? Or why don't I do something different? But taking that wider perspective and focusing on all parts of yourself and all parts of your, not just your physical health, but your mental health, your spiritual health, will help you. This concept that we see from indigenous communities in New Zealand, the Maori, they have this concept called the Tawhare Tapafa, which means the house that basically we use as a metaphor for wellness. And so for a house, you need to have all parts working for it to stand well. And that's the same principle that we have for health. So you need to have a firm foundation in your physical health, true. You need to have good nutrition. You need to have a good family life. You need to have a good community life. But you also need to have sort of the roof that keeps all of this together. Is you need to have a good spiritual life. So noticing that all pieces of your life, all pieces of your house are in place, and not just, trying to pretend like a floor is enough to call a home. Some more wisdom for you, group number 1, sunflower, assertiveness. This is also bringing up the energy of the sun card. So this is an indication that you have a bright outcome in the future, even if it might seem a bit distant through this upcoming month. So being assertive, rise up and stand stronger and true. Yep. So if you've got into a space where these limiting beliefs are keeping you from expressing your emotions in a healthy way, being assertive, but assertive is not the same thing as aggressive. So allowing yourself to have that space. I think I called it group number 1 earlier. You're group number 2. Group number 2, rise up and stand stronger and truer for yourself. So standing in your truth, trusting in your truth to bring you forward. Don't let your mind block you from knowing that bigger perspective, that wider knowing. We also have for you group number 2, orange blossom, enthusiasm. The best can be here. Believe it. Yep. So limiting beliefs, let those go, and allow for optimism to help you bubble up and rise up into a higher level of perspective, of higher perspective here. So rising up into a higher perspective, not just shifting it, but raising it. Words of wisdom for you, group number 2, we have take 5 or more minutes to concentrate on a divine feeling or a higher thought, doing your best to block out all other distractions. Yep. So allowing that perspective to pop up into a higher dimensionality. This is really a call that if you do not have a meditation practice yet, now this coming month would be a great time to allow for that revolutionary entry into your life by exploring, developing some kind of meditation practice for yourself. If you already have one, then next month and going forward will be a great time for you to continue and really dive into that practice and do so in a way that is really focused on those higher vibrational feelings. So cultivating at least acceptance and neutrality, and then having that find its way into bliss and awe, which are really those higher order heart-centered feelings that will help us to pop into those higher layers of awareness, layers of perception, and letting those higher thoughts be the ones that guide you to let go of the distractions, let go of those limiting beliefs that are trying to keep you in this cycle that isn't serving you anymore. So those are the messages that I have for you, group number 2. Thank you so much for letting me be your guide through these messages. I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. If this really resonated something for you, you might like to hit the like. And if it was really hitting your vibe, we'd love to have you joining this growing community by hitting the subscribe button below. It really helps the channel continue to evolve, and we'd love to have you along for the journey. So those are my messages for you, group number 2. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you again very soon. Until then, going on to group number 3. Okay, group number 3. Group number 3, what's coming for you in the month ahead? What are sort of the main themes, challenges you might be facing, and how can you really bring those into your higher level of awareness so that you can revolutionize your life through the month ahead? Bring in that Aquarius energy. We have first some insight into the major themes that you might be experiencing through the month ahead. Group number 3, we have the Knight of Swords. All right, so the Knight of Swords is all about bringing the mind into service. So I'm reminded of the phrase, the mind is a brilliant servant, but a terrible master. So bringing that mastery over your mind by not letting it run your life, but instead letting it be something that supports your higher awareness and supports your higher functioning. So that also speaks to moving from Capricorn into Aquarius. Some of the negativity and some of the shadow side of Aquarius can be that overactivity of the mind. So the general theme for you will be to keep that balance of not letting the mind run the show, but instead being, again, that servant that is aiding you. It doesn't dictate to you, but it helps you guide your way through the things that you experience in your life. What are some of the challenges that might be coming up for you in the next month ahead? Group number 3, we have the Two of Pentacles. So you may be, again, quite challenged to find that balance, and especially a physical balance. So as your mind is coming into mastery of how you're using your mind in service of yourself, you might find yourself sort of like bouncing back and forth between different sorts of patterns or different sorts of rituals that you might be going through for the next month. You might be looking for that ritual, that morning ritual that really nourishes you and making your mind able to support you rather than dictate to you or boss you around. It could also be just an indication that you will be having lots of different routines. I'm really getting that Virgo energy of the Earth, the Pentacles here. The routines that you experience in your life are going to be really fluctuating a lot, so you're trying to really optimize them. So that will be a challenge for you in finding that physical balance. What can you call in as some additional support, some unseen energies to help you through these challenges? Group number 3, we have the Seven of Swords in reverse. All right, so coming up in the upright position, Seven of Swords is all about sort of deception, strategy, and trying to maybe like get away with things. The sevens also have to do with the desires in the mental domain. But coming up in reverse, you can be supported by releasing deception or bringing things into the light, not trying to keep things hidden, not trying to separate things, really bringing yourself into a wholeness and integrating yourself into a coherent being by, if there's anything that you've been trying to hide away or anything that you've been feeling like just like this conflict in the way that maybe like your work life goes and your family life goes and your friend life goes, and you might be like telling one story at work and another story to the family, another story to the friends, bringing that in together, bringing that into unity, because that will help you bring balance and help you not have to run your mind so hard to keep track of all the stories you've been telling, right? So coming into more of an authentic expression of who you are. And some internal strengths, some skills that you already have, some talents that you already have that you can call upon to get through the month ahead. Group number 3, we have the Ace of Swords. So this is the sort of the Excalibur, the sword in the stone. So that sort of part of yourself that is really that expression of your highest self. There's also the ones, or the aces in the minor arcana, have to do with the roots, or sort of the core background energy of all of the signs on the zodiac within that suit. So that has to do with, again, Aquarius. So you're really being supported by that Aquarian energy that you have in with the air signs. That's Aquarius, also Gemini and Libra. So especially because we're entering into the season of Aquarius, I'm getting a lot of Aquarian energy here. Your internal support of your revolutionary spirit and what you are willing to be independent about, what you are excited about, having autonomy about, having sovereignty about, having self-determination about, is really going to be supporting you. The things that you are ready to step up for, and things that you intend, setting your intention. That's really, yes, setting your intention to be that sort of autonomous, self-directed being. And what can we offer you as advice for how to revolutionize your life in the month ahead? Group number 3, we have the 4 of Wands. Yeah, so this is a very positive card, especially coming up in a bright position. It's all about happy endings, coming to a firm foundation, the numerology of 4, in the way that you're expressing your energy and your spirit. And the imagery of this card, we have this lady who's shedding off this heavy, dark layer, this sort of like existing identity that she's had, shedding it off, letting it go, releasing it, and getting ready to jump into this pool of unopened lotuses. So ready to jump into this deep well of enlightenment, right? So you're really being supported in revolutionizing your life this month, group number 3, by shedding that identity that isn't serving you anymore. And coming to that happy ending, allowing yourself to have that path toward that happy ending that you've been asking for. What can you call upon as unseen energies to help you bring about this revolution in your life? Group number 3, we have the Queen of Wands in reverse. All right, so the Queen of Wands, she's the feminine aspect, the divine feminine aspect of the mature expression of the energy and of the spirit. Coming up in reverse, this may be an indication that you need to be that sort of queen of your own energy. So being, nurturing and receptive in the way that you use your energy, but very clear about how that is happening for you. Could also be an indication that you've got, because coming up in reverse, the Queen of Wands can also indicate someone who's a little bit prone to the more shadow side of the fire signs, so maybe a little bit quick to anger, a little bit quick to judge, so really being supported by calling in the unseen energies of allowing those things to go away, so letting go of judgment, letting go of gossip, and allowing that sort of, especially if you've got some existing layers of identity that have to do with being really hard-nosed and being really fiery, being really passionate, like if your anger is something that's really been driving you for a long time. Anger is still a very low vibrational energy. It's a very low vibrational emotion. So it's a better feeling than depression. So, if you're working your way out of a heavy energy that's been, keeping you sad, moving through anger is a way up and out, but it's not where you should stay. You need to keep moving forward by releasing that that part that you might be kind of like trying to keep under wraps, to find that balance and allow your mind to come to be more of a service to you, a servant to you than your master. And keeping that sort of moving up through acceptance, through up through equanimity, up through neutrality, moving on to awe and bliss, because those are going to serve you much more than just staying stuck in anger too long. What can we offer to you, group number 3, as additional insight to what you're being called in the month ahead to cultivate as a skill or as a new facet of yourself as you're moving forward in the week ahead, and in the month ahead, and allowing this revolution to come into your life? We have the 4 of Chalices in reverse. So the 4 of Chalices is a card that always speaks to me of like the gifts of spirit. So we have this person who's sitting under this tree. She looks quite exhausted, and these empty cups in front of her, but she's got this sort of gift of renewal being offered to her by spirit, but she's either not looking at it, or she's just sort of, maybe she's a bit skeptical about it. She's not at this point of being ready to accept it. Coming up in reverse, This could be calling you to let go of those things that are blocking you from accepting these gifts that are being offered to you in the spirit realm. Allow yourself to tap into your emotions and to let those emotions, the energy of the cups, provide you with that foundation. Because we have the 4 here again. So bringing that energy of emotion and of love to allowing yourself to bring everything into the light, bring all the pieces into coherence with themselves. And our ultimate advice to you, group number 3 for the month ahead, we have the 6 of Swords upright. So moving from a space of, again, mental turbulence and allowing yourself to come to a more ease, a more flowing mental state. This often speaks to me of the yoga philosophy concept of surrender. So not surrender in the sense of like quitting or, letting go of things so much as, like stopping trying. I mean, it is that, but not that. It's more about like releasing your requirement to have a particular outcome. Surrender to the sense that you are, in your mind, in your desires and your intentions, you are plotting the coordinates to the outcome that you want to manifest. And for you in group number 3, the outcome that you're trying to manifest is this new shedding of your old identity, growing of a new identity by shedding the old identity and coming to that happy ending in your spirit. So allowing that tranquility to come to your mind, possibly through a meditation practice. I will always speak of the benefits of meditation. And also just allowing that, you've set the coordinates for the destination, but you don't know the exact path. The path is for you to give to the universe, and that's where surrender happens. So in the Abraham Hicks way of talking about manifestation, the first step is to ask the question or to have the desire. And you've been doing that very, very well, group number 3. What you need to allow is for that second step, which is that the universe is the one that brings it to you. You do the asking, the universe does the giving. And then to get to the third step, you've got to allow for that to happen by getting into the receptive mode. So turning that receptive mode on, being receptive to the gifts of spirit, so that you can have this new revolutionary approach into your life come forward. And finally, the background energy, the context for you coming into the month ahead, group number 3, we have the Wheel in reverse. All right, so the Wheel is a card that's ruled by Jupiter, all about fortune, the Wheel of Fortune, expansion, good luck, also about completing karmic cycles or that karmic wheel spinning and completion of that cycle with that numerology of 10. Coming up in reverse. So maybe an indication that the background energy here is that you have been repeating a cycle, or that a cycle that you have repeatedly been going through is coming to your attention as you're bringing your mind into service to yourself, instead of being at the dictate of your mind and what the mind is telling you to do. You are telling your mind what to do. And so coming into this background energy of this Wheel of Fortune, it's felt like it's been against you. You felt like you've been subject to the wheel, but you're instead being invited to take that revolution by releasing your attachment to it, coming into that space of surrender. Some words of wisdom from the flowers for you, group number 3. We have zinnia, absence. What is not here is the key. Yep, so as I was saying with that, steps of manifestation, if you're focusing on the question, you can't get to the answer. So you have to release that question. So if you're still focusing on things that aren't here, they'll continue to not be here. If there's things that you are worrying about in the future, that you're projecting into the future, well, they're not here yet. So why are you focusing this energy on a thing that hasn't even happened? Like I can give you an example. I was thinking about a conversation that I could maybe have had at some point in my life with my mom in the near future about this thing that's been going on in our family. And I realized as I was getting angry about her, like, how could you do this? And like she hasn't done anything yet. I'm just like projecting this very, frankly, very low probability future outcome because she's already directly said that's not a thing that she's going to do. But here I'm like, anticipating this thing that is completely a fabrication of my own mind. My mind is making something up and I'm getting upset about it. So it's not here. Why are you getting upset about a thing that isn't here? We also have gardenia, awareness. Wake up, roll the clouds away, and look. Yeah, so that bringing your mind into service of you. I also mentioned with this energy of surrender, maybe doing some meditation to bring your mind into that space of tranquility so that it can be a servant to you rather than a master. We also have Calla Lily, rejuvenation, reawaken, and then stand stronger. Yep, so coming into that space of awareness, that re-energizing your mental space is really pretty active for you in the month ahead, group number 3. And our words of healing wisdom for you going forward, we have enjoy the process instead of always looking for the result. Yeah, so that again is speaking to that surrender that I was saying, like the key to getting from question to universe giving to you receiving is to release from your attachment. So surrender works very closely with detachment or unattachment, as I was saying, detaching from the wheel, releasing your grip on the need to have a particular outcome, which could tie in with this reversed Queen of Wands. If you're really frustrated a lot of the time, if you're mostly expressing yourself through anger and frustration, that's because possibly you are overly focused on controlling in a way that is not within your domain of control. Like you can't make things happen out of thin air, because that's not how we've come to experience this particular layer of reality that we're in. Maybe some other layers of reality, that's a thing that can happen, but that's not the game we came to play. So instead, focus on finding a way to enjoy the process itself, because the process can be intrinsically rewarding if you shift your focus, if you bring your awareness to the way that can be fulfilling. So parable that I find really illuminating in this situation is the idea, the story was of this man who one day he heard that there was this great treasure buried in this field, not too far from his house. So he decided, well, I'm going to dig up that treasure. That's my treasure. And so he spent his first day, he hiked out to that field, and he dug 5 holes. And at the end of 5 holes, there were 0 chests of treasure. He had 0 treasure at the end of that 5 holes. He's like, you know what, I'm not put off. I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to dig another 5 holes and I'll find that treasure. So he does this day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. Every day at the bottom of that hole, no treasure. Every day at the bottom of that hole, disappointment, because he was attached to the idea of finding a treasure at the bottom of one of these holes. So months go by, and eventually he realizes that, even though he still hasn't found that treasure, his body has begun to shift. He's stronger. He's got more definition to his physique. He feels better. He feels more alive because he's been doing this rigorous, energetic practice with his body day in and day out. And just the rhythm of spending that time in nature, going outside, and having that thing to do with his body, and allowing his mind to float up as he sinks into the rhythm of the dig and the toss of the dirt, and the dig and the toss of the dirt. He's come to realize over time that actually the treasure was the digging process itself. So he can continue finding fulfillment and satisfaction in that treasure that he found within himself as he goes through the practice of doing this digging. That is the true treasure that he was in that field to dig up. So it's a bit of like a flipping the mind, coming into changing that perspective, that it's the practice itself that gives you the reward, not the reward at the end of the practice. So that is what I have for you, group number 3. Group number 3, I'd love to hear what you think about this reading in the comments down below. If this really hit your vibe, you might like to hit the like button on this video, and if it was really resonating for you, we'd love to have you joining this group of growing community as the channel continues to evolve by hitting that subscribe button. We'd love to have you along for the rest of the journey. And until then, thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, group number 3. I hope to see you again very soon. Until we meet again, as always, go in peace to love and to serve. Namaste.